Imagine this, you wake up, roll out of bed, put on your creativity pants, and head to your battle station armed with your imagination and a keyboard, ready to build your dream game. You know this game is going to be wildly successful, even change the world around you, except for the bills come in and you realize this world doesn't run on dreams. You need money to survive. The indie dream is dead yet again. You contemplate, should I even make games at all? But you keep on pushing through. This is a story that happens over and over again, is how do you make games while still making a living? Lucky for us, Thomas Stewart has released a video of how he's made over $300,000 making games, and he's shared this knowledge with us, which we will absorb to reach our true potential. All right, Thomas, give us all your knowledge
making video games.
On how to make $300,000 a year,
the strategies that I use
making
to
video
achieve that
games.
number, and some vital tips that I've learned along the way.
I think I've made like $300.
I want to briefly go over some of the different avenues and methodologies that I've seen game developers use to monetize their trade. So let me ask you this. When I talk about making money as a game developer, what comes into your mind?
Okay, I think of more of, you get to just make really goofy games that people like, people buy, and you just don't really worry about money. You just make games. You don't get to wear your sleep sack every day. Let's see.
A lot of people will automatically jump to what I like to call the indie dream story. And the indie dream story is what happens when a solo game developer becomes an overnight success. These are the tales of individuals who spend time creating a game and then hit it big.
Okay, individuals. So we're going to go with Stardew Valley. We're going to go with Undertale, and a classic, Shower with Your Dad Simulator.
Think of games like Vampire Survivors, Stardew Valley, or Flappy Bird. These are
Whoa. Okay, I guess like Flappy Bird is overnight success, but I don't think that's the indie dream, because I'm pretty sure the developer of Flappy Birds didn't even want any of the attention that he got and ended up turning off ads. I mean, after he probably made his bag, but yeah.
The games that seem to explode overnight and make the developers into multimillionaires. And that's kind of the nature of the beast.
And I guess the dream, right?
Is a hit-driven industry. But being able to make a game that is that popular and successful, especially if you're a team of one person, is extremely difficult.
I mean, it's so hard. I'm pretty sure there's stats out there saying something like 90% of people who actually start their first game never actually release a game. So if you've ever even released a game, like you're ahead of the majority of people. So it's really not really the indie dream. It's more like the indie lottery for those that even complete it.
Okay, so that's one method. The second method is what I like to call YouTuber game devs. These
now
are
we're
the people
talking.
who create YouTube videos as they're developing their games, and then their rising popularity on YouTube basically guarantees a successful launch.
Okay, he's going to go with Danny for sure. I'm going to go Polymars, and I'm going to go with who would be a good third YouTube game dev that we watch. I mean, like Code Monkey's a pretty good example of that.
When their game releases. Think of people like Danny, Thin
Got
Matrix, Ponty Pants.
Nope.
Now I like
Ponty,
these kind of people because not only are they developing interesting games, but their personalities are really interesting too. And they provide a lot of value for the viewer by letting them get a sneak peek behind the scenes into their world of game development.
For sure. It's nice to it's actually almost like a two-way street, right? One, they get a sneak peek behind what's happening, but two, as a game developer, you get to take a break from the day-to-day grind, which is admittedly really fun, and kind of focus your energy into something else that kind of grows your game or markets your game, as he mentions, while focusing still on just game developing, not actual like true marketing aspects. So yeah, and that's kind of why I use YouTube. It's just a little bit of a break from when I'm doing the day-to-day grind of building a game.
Okay, this next monetization strategy that I've seen is what I like to call the game dev gurus. And these are the people who have taken their professional experience and successful game releases, and they have used that knowledge to create their own online classes and courses to sell to people. Think of people like Thomas.
Oh, okay. I was going to say Thomas Brush. You'll also pick Jason Wyman, and let's go with Blackthorn Prod.
Brush, David Whaley, and Jason Wyman.
Okay,
These guys
2 for
have
3.
created
2 for
and
3.
released successful games on all platforms. And
Yeah, I'm counting. I'm counting it even though I paused it after it showed up.
Creating online courses to teach what they've learned in the process. And in some cases, they make way more money selling courses than they do selling games. In some cases...
Out of curiosity, has anyone bought a premium course, say from one of those 3 people you mentioned or Blackthorn Prod? Because they're like 400, like $300 to $1,000, these courses. Yeah, let me know in the comments below if you've actually purchased one of the premium courses. I've done all mine through Udemy, YouTube, reading, and a little bit of, AI ChatGPT these days.
They make way more money selling games than they do selling courses. Okay, so this next category is what I like to call the asset creators group. And these...
Okay, first off, I'm going to say this is a underrated category. Assets are so awesome for indie game developers or solo or small groups because, man, games are so complex. The more you know, the more you realize how much you have to know. But you can just buy an asset to solve a big system, and then you can focus on, pure game design or the parts of game dev that you actually like. I know for our game right now, we're using Easy Save and Pixel Crushers for dialogue systems. So I don't have to worry about saving, and I don't have to worry about dialogue, and we just kind of learn the assets, learn the tools, which when you think about it, big AAA studios, they just hire people to build assets within their engines so people can do their jobs more effectively. So it's kind of giving us little guys a chance. So thank you, asset creators.
These are people who don't
I just know I could never
make
be
their own
one.
games, but they make assets for games that they can sell to other game developers. And typically, I think of these people as putting up their assets on
art
the
people,
Unity
right?
asset
Like
store,
Kenny
but it
does
could be any
art.
other platform store or their own website or whatever. Some of the people that fall into this category are Kenny and Cinti Studios, but it doesn't just have to be.
Oh, they're on Humble Bumble all the time.
Programmers will often create plugins that make it easier for other game developers to implement certain systems into their game, like maybe a save system or an inventory system or things of that nature. Okay, so those are some of the major ways that I've seen game developers monetize their craft. But I took a different path from all these people. Let me tell you about my experience.
All right, Thomas, give us the path that you have given. I want to know. Give me everything. Let me absorb your knowledge.
So let's do a quiz to see if you can guess which avenue I took to make over $300,000. Do you think it was A, signing deals with publishers? B, releasing free mobile games with advertisements? C, creating NFTs? Or D, live streaming my game development?
Okay, let's pause this here. Okay, looking at his house, it looks pretty nice. Clean hardwood floors right there. Looks like a modernized color. So yeah, I guess 300K will get that for you. So I don't think it's a publisher deal. I think it's going to be a trick question. It's going to be all of these or none of these. So I'm going to go with all of them. A, B, C, D.
I'll just give you 1 second to try and figure out which one you think it is.
Come on.
Let's see what the answer is. Drum roll, please.
Drum roll.
Winner is... none of these.
Ah, no,
so here's the actual breakdown
one.
Of this big number.
Ah, you rascal.
One is from my Patreon. I recently created a Patreon account, and so far it has made me about $20. And I did actually release a few mobile games with ads, and that has made about $40 in ad revenue. And then we can also add in the ad revenue
That's $60.
that I made from this YouTube channel, which is about $40. But let me back up for a second, because
Well, everybody here, make sure you go subscribe to him right now. Let's get that up to like $42.
The ad revenue for both my mobile games and for YouTube, neither of those have met the threshold to be able to withdraw any money, so I'm not even going to count those because I can't access that money.
Not yet,
and I probably never will for the mobile games. And the remaining money all comes from one source. I earned it by convincing someone else to pay me to help them build their games. Now, the traditional phrasing for this kind of business arrangement is having a job. Now, before you write me off, I want you to hear me out. Because most people want to be the...
well, I guess like the one sure way thing to make a living making games is to work on someone else's game who's paying for the game. In a way, when you think about it, if you're working and building a game as a hobby, you're just paying yourself an hourly rate out of the salary you're already working for the other company. So you're a paid professional indie game developer at that point. Okay, we'll hear you out, Thomas.
Overnight indie dev success story. They want to be on their own, creating one game completely by themselves, and wake up the next morning with millions of dollars in their bank account. But that's
maybe not millions, but enough to like
just not realistic.
Pay those bills.
I see it as being on the same tier as winning the lottery. But this getting a job in the games industry, anybody can do that. Video games is now a $396 billion industry. And that means that there are so many jobs
and growing.
out there. The jobs are out there for the taking, but a lot of people want to be professional game developers, which means that those job openings are competitive. And job applications often get lost in the void and you never hear back from the employer. So let me tell you about my personal experience of getting a job in the games industry.
Okay, right now, how many people have a job in the games industry or want a job in the games industry versus do you want to just make games for yourself?
Both the challenges that I had to overcome and the one trick that made it much easier to land a job. Okay, so picture this. Let's go back a few years to a young and spry version of Thomas. He's bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. He's optimistic about the world and just graduated college with
that young bushy-tailed Thomas.
I got a job doing enterprise Java web development, and it wasn't great. I met some cool people, but overall, it wasn't my jam. And I eventually started to dread coming into work. And I'll skip the part where I had like a quarter-life crisis and started thinking deeply about the existential questions about what I wanted to do with my life. And
okay, but isn't that at this point, you quit your job, you go full-time indie dev, you build the dream game that doesn't actually sell, and then you say you did it, then it's on your resume, and then you go ahead and get a job in the game industry because that is the one secret tip is once you built a game, released it, now you can get a job because you have that on your resume. Here we go.
We'll just fast forward to the point where I decided that I wanted to make video games. So I started with learning the relevant game dev related skills. That meant downloading Unity, going through tutorials, and learning some stuff about art, beginning to publish really small projects,
the basics,
and just seeing what was possible and how all these pieces fit together. And if you want to see in detail all of the projects that led to me getting a full-time job as a game developer, I made a video about every single project that I made leading up to that, so you can check that out.
Okay, that looks like quite a few projects.
I tried not to get stuck in tutorial hell. And for those who don't know, tutorial hell is a real place, and it's where you watch a tutorial and then you watch another tutorial.
And here's the thing, tutorial hell, and I'm calling this right now, tutorial hell is kind of going away to an extent, and it's going to be more AI hell. And I felt like I no longer watch tutorials to learn how to do anything. You know, every once in a while I'll watch them more for just seeing how people are doing things. But whenever I have a problem I need to solve that I don't know, I hop onto ChatGPT, type in the problem, type in the prompt, it kind of builds it out, ask it to build out the rest of the code for me. And then I kind of just like debug it and tweak it a little bit. But I'm still kind of facing the same problems as tutorial hell as I'm not thinking on my own all the time when I should be. So I think this is just going to be replaced with, you know, AI hell soon.
Tutorial, and then you watch another tutorial, and you're following these people's instructions step by step, but you never progress beyond that, and you never make something of your own. Tutorials are great in the beginning when you're starting out, but a lot of people get stuck there. And if you don't want to get stuck there, then my suggestion is to finish projects.
Okay, finish projects, but also finish projects that are really small based off of the tutorial that you just did. So if you, for example, watch a tutorial how to build a 2D controller. Right? Build the 2D controller, then start a brand new project, don't use the tutorial, and build a 2D controller.
And I actually made a video talking about the importance of finishing projects. So if you want to check out that video, you can get some practical tips about how to get your project to the finish line.
Just do game jams.
I tried making some mobile games, and I attempted to monetize it, but it didn't really go that well. If you want to check out my video, I made a whole in-depth thing about how I made 3 mobile games and how much money I made.
All right, so if we don't want to make $300,000, or if you want to make money, don't play mobile games.
Android and iOS platforms and the mobile market as a whole. I also sent my mobile games to some of the top mobile publishers of the time, and they were able to run some social media ads to do some user acquisition and measure like click-through rate and retention rate and all of this different stuff. None of my projects were viable enough to get formally published by them, but it was a really good learning experience for me. The next step that...
And I wonder too, like sending your games to these social media agencies to, you know, view the click-through rate and stuff like that. I wonder if there's more of an opportunity where if your game is viable, can you start shoving sponsorships in your games so that you're not necessarily running on, you know, Unity ad system for your ads? Can you, you know, play more like a movie style thing where instead of like, you know, Beats by Dre as you're seeing every scene, or like the Sony's for Spider-Man, can you have that in your mobile game to get a small little piece of the cake, you know?
that I took was creating an online portfolio that showed off some of the more polished projects that I was putting together. And this was a really important
college shirt. He looks good.
Because being able to show a potential employer, hey, these are the projects that I've worked on, it's crucial because it shows a potential employer what you're capable of, gives you something to show them even if you don't have industry experience yet. They weren't super impressive.
So we were kind of right there, right?
Which says a lot. Then came the really important life-changing part, applying for jobs. Now let me tell you that I was not picky at all. All I wanted was to get paid to learn game development. I didn't care what project I was on. I didn't care how much they were paying me. I just wanted to get some sort of paycheck while I was able to open up Unity every day.
$300,000 is a pretty good paycheck.
A ton of places. I was checking Google and Indeed and LinkedIn, sending out applications everywhere. I had to update my resume, and then after I updated my resume, I sent it to some of my friends and they gave me some really valuable feedback.
Let's see. Lol, your resume. Dude, so bad. Ha 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 ha. It's okay though. I still love you, Thomas. Damn. Lol, thanks, man. I mean, that's good feedback right there.
And then I sent in like a million applications. And I don't mean like one-click apply. I mean like sending personalized emails and personalized cover letters whenever I could. And I got a million rejections. Here's one.
It only takes one though, right?
Here's one. Here's one. Here's another one. Here's one. Here's one.
It's a lot of rejections,
but I didn't want
Thomas.
to waste a bunch of time digging through all my old emails. And these are just the rejections that I heard back from. A lot of people I just got ghosted and never heard from.
And actually, okay, so getting ghosted seems to be like one of the worst things right now when applying for jobs. I don't apply for too many jobs, but every once in a while, I still hear about what's happening out there. And it's frustrating when you go through the time and effort to write a cover letter, to post a resume to this person or this company that you want to work for and put your 8 hours in, your heart and soul, your blood into this company, and they don't have the decency to hit reject, which will create an auto reply to you. They just leave it in resume limbo and you never get a response. You never know what happens. And they leave the job posting up. So it says up for 30 plus days and you don't know what happens. It's just, I don't know. I think it's a bigger problem than just not getting a response.
Overall, it was emotionally exhausting. Maybe you've been in this position before.
If you need a hug, let me know.
I was constantly refreshing my emails to see if I had anything new in my inbox. I was doing a ton of research on all these individual studios to see what made them unique and why I would want to work for them. I forgot what the third thing was. I was filling out a bunch of online forms, and these forms were just inputting exactly what was already on my resume. And then I would get rejection after rejection. It was not fun. But one day I had a thought that changed my entire mindset.
Okay, his thought is, I am going to network with people. He's going to network. That's what it's going to be.
And I think it's a really good secret for getting a job in the games industry. I thought to myself, well, all of these applications that these people are getting are from strangers. I bet game studios would much rather hire from within their network of friends and acquaintances before opening it up to some random person on the internet. So I decided to take matters into my own hands, and I went to the one place where game developers love to hang out, even though it's a complete swamp of toxic negativity. Twitter, or X now, I guess. So here's my hack. Just do a Twitter search of keywords. In my case, it was Unity and hiring. And suddenly I had access to an entire list of real people who were looking for new hires.
That's actually a really good tip. I never thought of doing something like that. I thought it'd be more like, okay, go to meetups, go in and have to physically go meet people. But yeah, this is a IQ 200 play right here.
After that, it was game over. I DM'd somebody and they gave me instructions with how to apply.
That's a kill screen, not game over.
Enormous difference. Because when I emailed in my resume, I specifically said, hi, I was speaking to so-and-so on Twitter and they recommended that I apply to this position. Automatically, my resume jumped to the top of the stack and it led to me being hired full-time. Why?
Nice.
Because of that personal connection. I realized
and it's like not even that personal because it's Twitter, right, or X.
Of professionalism that manifested itself in online forums and non-personal emails. If I can figure out how to reach individual people, I am way better off. It's like,
and what's kind of interesting on this aspect too, I think it can actually apply to like selling your game that you do make. If you can figure out how to interact with people to get a job, you can probably figure out how to interact with people who want to also play games that you are making, which then could lead to the indie dream, as we call it.
Like that old phrase, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Okay, so I landed this job, so what happened? Guys, let me tell you, it was intimidating. The first project that I was put on, I was the only programmer. And yeah, I'd made a lot of small projects and basic prototypes, but I didn't have the knowledge to do things the right way. Like, I didn't even know what the difference was between a UI image component and a sprite renderer. And suddenly I was in charge of implementing entire new features into this brand new game.
So something crazy, actually. So we've been working on our games for like 3-4 years, all self-taught, not really learning the right way. We'll more call it like the YouTube way of, self-building a game. And we were recently talking to some third-year university people in a game dev program, and the games that they created relative to what we've created just in our like pastime, it doesn't necessarily mean the right way will lead to better games. The right way just leads to building games with more people in a more scalable manner, right? So it doesn't necessarily mean your game's going to be better if you build it the right way. It just means you can work with more people.
It was great. It was exactly what I was looking for. I was learning so much every single day, and I was getting paid to do it. And I had coworkers. If I ever had any questions or didn't know how to do something, I had a group of people that I could go to.
That is honestly one of the biggest perks of working with people, is like having easy access to questions.
My competence tenfold. So I don't know who you are watching this video. Maybe you're a professional game developer, or maybe you're a hobbyist game developer.
Yeah, there we go.
Maybe you're somebody who likes playing video games and you have a big interest in game development. Or maybe you have no interest in game development. If that's you, then I'm really surprised that you made it this far in the video. So thanks. But no matter who you are, if you want to make money...
If anyone here has no interest in game development, I'm really surprised that you made it this far in the video as well.
By creating video games, then I hope that you will learn from my experience. The best way to make money, the most lucrative path for game developers, is to convince somebody else to pay you to create the games that they want to make. In layman's terms, get a job. If you want to make money by creating video games, then I would recommend that you do what I did. Make yourself employable and find that personal connection that will help you land a job.
Okay.
On a completely unrelated note.
Okay. So we came in here looking for the indie dream, and we came out with realistic advice here. But the thing you didn't mention here is, okay, we got to break down a couple things. $300,000, now I don't think that's $300,000 a year. I think that's over the course of him making games for this company. So I don't know how many years he was hired for based off of this, but it's definitely, there's no way as a junior he's making $300,000 a year. If it is, I mean, props, like that's insane. But I think you could also, the benefit here is he's learning as he's going with coworkers. I think that's the biggest, it's almost more valuable than the money he's earning, because you can go work a job, earn more money to then pay yourself to make games, if that makes sense, right? Say you can earn $50,000 in a junior level position, but you can earn $100,000 in a senior level position of what you're good at right now, right? You can take that $50,000 difference, pay yourself to make games on the side, or pay for assets or other things to help build your game up and kind of start more your own studio aspect.
If you want to hear about how I recently quit my job to become a solo indie game developer, then you can watch that video right here.
Oh, and he just does that. He does it. Okay, that's crazy. So we came in here looking for the dream of how to make $300,000, go full time in indie games, and we walked out with learning that if you want to make games for a living, the easiest way is to go get a job. And I agree with that 100%. You have your coworkers to learn from, which is actually going to make you so much of a better game developer for when you do decide to go out on your own. But you have to ask yourself, why are you trying to make games? Is it to make games for the passion and the love of it as a hobby, to make goofy stuff that makes you laugh and hopefully somebody else laughs? Or is it to make games because you just love coding, you love game design, or you love one specific aspect of it, and it doesn't matter the type of game you're in, or it doesn't matter the environment you're in, right? So I think there's a lot of different reasons to make games, and you just got to figure out why you want to make games and just do it. Also, make sure to head to Thomas Stewart's YouTube channel, Give him a subscribe, watch his video, and make him get his first YouTube payout if it hasn't already happened. Awesome content. Thank you for sharing your knowledge, Thomas. I really appreciate it.